That radio chick Cheryl Lee here with you. Welcome to the Still Rocking It podcast, where we'll have music, news, reviews and interviews with some of our favourite Australian musicians and artists. Today I share a phone conversation I had recently with one of Australia's finest blues purists, self-taught harmonicist Matt Taylor, about remembering when we were young. See what I did there? Now 74 years young. As with so many of Australia's greatest musicians, we originally inherited Matt also from the UK as a youngster from working class Liverpool. Having toured with every other blues legend on the planet, including Muddy Waters, Buddy Guy, Willie Dixon, B.B. King, Albert King, Freddy King, Howling Wolf, Matt and his band Chain are on their way to a town near you very soon. What's Matt Taylor been up to lately? Let's find out. You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. Thank you for joining me today, and I'm pleased to introduce Matthew Taylor, aka Matt Taylor from Chain. Thank you for having a chat with us today, Matt.
Oh, my absolute pleasure.
Most of us will remember Matt as the lead singer and harmonica player from Chain. Yep. We'll talk a little bit about Chain and some of the memories, but perhaps I could take you right back to the very beginning, Matt. Were you from a musical family?
Yep, I was the least musical in my family. My parents, I'm a Queenslander, and my parents entertained the American troops in what they used to call concert parties. So the concert party would go out to an American camp, and there'd be comedy, and they'd sing songs, and all of that type of stuff. And my sister learnt to play the piano, and they tried to teach me clarinet. That was just absolutely useless.
Stupid.
It's a waste of time. Then in 1963, my dad sees a picture in the paper. My dad was from Liverpool. Says, "Matty, come over here." And they used to call England the old country. Oh, look what's happening in the old country. I looked at it, and here's these four long-haired lads. In my book it explains it a lot better. Within 24 hours, I was growing my hair long. And this is 63,
Yeah, they'd say, get a haircut and get a real job.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, that came from your own family. Was get a haircut and get a real job. The thing is that if you come from a musical family, you're hearing it all the time. There's music all around you. And even though you're running around shooting guns, that's basically all I used to do, playing and, you're taking all of this stuff in. I can remember my dad would sing Old Shep, and I'd have to go downstairs because any song about a dog dying was just a little bit too much.
See that here. And do you have any brothers?
No, I've got a lovely sister, still great friends with my sister. She's 4 years older than I am. She still lives in Brisbane, and whenever we talk, we just carry on the conversation from where we left off last time, one of those kind of relations.
Yeah, oh, very lovely. How did you end up, a boy from sunny Queensland, end up settling over in Perth?
Oh, that's a long, long story too. A fella named Fred Robinson, who was a sort of spiritual teacher, and he used to go around Australia, and he set up a commune in Western Australia. I've always been interested in those kind of subjects, so I went with my wife at the time, and we went and settled in a place called Bailing up in Western Australia, and was there for about 2 years.
In the commune?
In a commune, yeah, and then moved up to Perth, and I've been here ever since.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yep.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
I don't think we'll keep you in suspense any longer. Let's hear that fabulous hit now, I Remember When I Was Young. Matt Taylor wrote the song and performed it originally, and it has been covered by greats like Daddy Cool, Mondo Rock, Cold Chisel, Men at Work, Renee Geyer, Australian Cruel, Richard Clapton, the Whitlams, the list goes on.
Well, I remember when I was young, the world had just begun. you're self-taught, Matt. You started getting interested in blues, so you didn't become a mophead, you didn't become a Beatle. You started listening to blues.
I'll tell you the story is I'm a raging Beatles fan in '63, and even by the time the Beatles came to Australia, I went to the show, I was already a blues fan by that stage. And how it came about is I bought Please Please Me, the Beatles' first album, the day it came out. And I loved the Chuck Berry and Little Richard songs. So the next albums I bought were the best of Chuck Berry and the best of Little Richard. And then I'm going through a magazine called Fabulous, and I see a picture of a band that looks exactly the way I feel. And, of course, this is the Rolling Stones. So I become a Rolling Stones fan from a picture in a book. So the very first day the Rolling Stones album came out, I bought it, ran home, put it on the radiogram. My dad got home from work, stood in front of, I'm playing the Rolling Stones, and my dad stands in front of me and says, "Matty, what's that shit?" So Dad was not impressed with the Rolling Stones at all. But my dad was a harmonica player, so we had harmonicas all over the house. Me, never touched them. Old man music, not interested. Then I hear the Rolling Stones playing so I get every harmonica in the house. I could not figure out how on earth they were doing it. And then Fabulous magazine comes around the right time again, and there's an interview with Keith Ralph from the Yardbirds, and he says, there's only one harmonica you can play the blues on, and it's in America it's called a marine band, but in Australia and England it's called an Echo Super Vamper. So I basically just went and bought an Echo Super Vamper, brought it home, and I'd say within a month I could play everything on that Stones album, all the harmonica. I just had a natural feel for it, again, because I'd been listening to it all my life, not realising that I was learning how to play it, and I didn't even realise I was learning it.
You were taking it in by osmosis.
Yeah, it's the same as writing songs. I used to play hockey, and I'd entertain the hockey team by making up rude verses to Beatles songs. And you don't realise that's teaching you how to write songs.
That's true. It's the very first baby step.
An incredible thing is I'm reading Bob Dylan, a book he wrote about himself. He's a really good writer. I've got a lot of respect for Bob. And Bob said, before I wrote one song, I would get old folk songs and rewrite the lyrics to them. Exactly what I did. You start off getting old songs, rewriting the lyrics, and then bit by bit you think, I don't need, that's a good lyric, let's put something else underneath it. And before you know it, you're just writing songs.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
I think we'll have a song from the Yardbirds now, For Your Love, in memory of Keith Ralph, vocalist and harmonicist for the Yardbirds, who he lost in tragic circumstances, aged just 33, who gave Matt Taylor the big tip on the best harmonica to play.
You started early with a band called Bay City Union, and was that with Glenn Wheatley?
The Bay City Union did its first gig on the 14th of February 1966. Actually, it might have been the 13th. It was that weekend where Decimal Currency came in.
I was wondering how you remember that.
Of course, the 14th of February is also my sister's birthday, so Valentine's Day in a romantic way means nothing to me, but it's a very important date in my life, and I'm always aware when it comes up. Glenn wasn't in the original band. Like many bands, you go through 20 members. when we decided to go down to Melbourne, I wasn't the original singer. The original singer was a fellow named Paul Johnson, an amazing guy, not with us anymore. But he eventually is asked to leave the band, and I become the lead singer instead of the rhythm guitarist. So I was lead singer and harmonica player in the Bay City Union. And of course, Phil Manning joins the Bay City Union along with Glenn Wheatley. And when that band breaks up, everyone goes their own way. The drummer of the Bay City Union joins fraternity with Bronze Top. It's a very, when you go back into that history, we're all wound up with each other.
Yes, it was quite incestuous, wasn't it?
There were, I remember the chain drummer once told me, he said, I could go in now and play with Spectrum and you wouldn't even know they had a different drummer. We were so close, we knew each other's, especially the rhythm sections, bass and drums. We'd go and jam virtually with anyone. And that's the other thing we did a lot of, was jamming.
Yes.
The Bay City Union was a pretty average band when we hit Melbourne. But 9 months after we hit Melbourne, it was a hot little unit. As I say, sometimes I do a show about it. And I say it was so hot that everyone wanted to steal the musicians. The Masters Apprentices stole Wheatley, and Phil Manning went off with, there was a couple of girls, and I think it was a Laurie Allen review, and there was a couple of girls in it, so Phil was gone.
Yes, that was his incentive.
What's that?
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was his incentive. So, it was... and, of course, the Bay City Union was really the first... if you go and see a blues band somewhere, the Bay City Union was the first. We didn't do any English covers.
Yeah.
We just went straight to the source and just, did Muddy Waters and Little Walter, Howling Wolf. It was probably a little bit too early.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
What a great time in music it was back then, everybody playing with everybody else. Let's hear a song from the Masters Apprentice, who apparently stole Glenn Wheatley from Bay City Union. Their hit, Turn Up Your Radio. Back soon to chat more with Matt straight after this.
The wonderful thing about Melbourne at the time is that those great big dances that they had, you could have a jazz band start the night and then 2 pop bands, a boy singer comes on, and then, someone like the Bay City Union comes on and plays blues. We made a living. It was fantastic. And when I started off, I had a little scrapbook someone gave me, and I went 16 pages in and put a little asterisk, and I said, if I can fill up those 16 pages, I'll be quite happy. If anyone would have said to me when I was 17 when I started earning a living playing music, and I'd only taken up music from 13, so I was a professional musician certainly by 18 and has been a professional musician ever since. Now, if anyone would have told me that I'd still be doing the odd gig, 50-odd years later, I would have just laughed at them because it wasn't a full-time profession. I've got a #1 record at one stage. I go back to Brisbane and my parents have a little party for me, and my dad gets me in the corner, puts his arm around me and says, Matty, when it all falls through, I'll get you a job on the trams. God bless them. And the trams only lasted another 5 years, and they got rid of them and replaced them with buses. So, as I tell many people, when I started, there were people much more talented than what I was. Better guitarists. No one could play harmonica better than me, I'll tell you that. But singers, There were just so many talented musicians, and their fathers said, "Oh, look, son, get the trade, and when you've got the trade, go and do your musical thing." And of course, they got the trade, and they're still doing it now. You know, I burned all the bridges. I had nothing to fall back on. It was that or starving.
That's right. So that was a good plan.
No plan B.
No plan B.
Yeah,
so you have to make it work.
And it's wonderful. You could do it in those days. I don't know how any musician now, you know, when you're paying, you know, $500 a week rent, you know, no idea how you could have done it. The other thing, too, is I've never been on the dole. That was because I came from parents who went through the Depression. They'd get through to you, no matter what you do, have some money behind you for the bad times. I've stuck to that all my life. Even with this COVID rubbish, we got nothing. The musicians got nothing from the government, not 1 cent. I've lost thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work. And so when I hear people complaining, "Oh, I'm only getting $750, I think, yeah, God, you know, don't complain to me. Be a musician and then find out just how well you're looked after. But, you know, be that as it may, I'm still here, I'm still surviving, I'm still writing songs. You know, being a blues musician, we just keep playing till we fall off the roost. I laughed at John Farnham, you know, keeps retiring, and he keeps doing more gigs every year than I do, and he's retired. In a way, COVID's forced many musicians into a form of semi-retirement. But, you know, I've got Adelaide coming up in October, so I'm really looking forward to that. And hopefully by that stage, everyone's had COVID by that stage, and you haven't got 5,000 people a day getting it, and everyone's plans just change all the time now. You've got something planned and then you rang up, "Sorry, Matt, got COVID, locked up for 7 days." "Okay, fine."
Can you tell us when and where and what's happening when you come?
No, I've got no secrets with me. You know, let's have a look. Adelaide, yeah, we do the 28th, 29th and 30th. We'll do the Old Como Club at Port Adelaide. And then the Rosemount, is it, Hotel? Then the Three Brothers Ann's on the 30th. We do all the out-of-the-way places, chain, when we come to Adelaide. But, you know, the real chain fans just look it up and they know where to go. They'll track it down. There's plenty of time to work on it. It's supposed to be a Brisbane Blues Festival at the start of October. I'm booked for that. Whether it'll happen, I don't know. But so once this COVID thing goes away or settles down, then we can get on playing music. I don't think music will ever be the same again, the musical scene, because what we've done is changed people's going out habits.
That's so right.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to doing Adelaide.
Get on the Googleometer from about now, either on Matt Taylor's website, and keep an eye on that on the Googleometer.
Oh, yeah.
They'll probably see you at the Three Brothers Arms.
Yeah.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
I'd say it's time for a song. Earlier, Matt said he loved the Please Please Me album by the Beatles, particularly the songs the Beatles covered by Chuck Berry and Little Richard. Let's have a listen now to an old recording of Chuck Berry's rock and roll music that inspired the Beatles that Matt so loved.
Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music. Any old way you choose it. Backbeat, you can't lose it.
Last time I saw you was at the fraternity 50th anniversary celebration last year. That was great.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And then Tony Butel from the old Bay City Union and fraternity was there, and I hadn't seen him since fraternity. Been living in different cities and everything. It was just lovely to catch up. Yeah, there's an enormous amount of history there.
There was, so for those that don't know, it was sort of celebrating the 1971 My Ponga.
Well, that was an incredible show too, My Ponga. That would have been probably the third or maybe fourth music festival in Australian history. It was before the Melbourne ones, so Adelaide got in really early. You know...
we're ahead of our time.
In many ways you are, and have been, you know, I think the greatest turn-up for the Beatles when they arrived anywhere was in Adelaide. You know, the streets were just crammed with, you know, it was some ridiculous, like it was a quarter of the population of South Australia or something. It was some ridiculous thing like that. So, and there's always been a great little blues scene in Adelaide, which of course helps Chain quite a bit.
Well, I have always said that we punch above our weight, like all the great bands came out of Adelaide.
That's because you've always had a great musical tradition there, you know.
We've got a great little underground spot here in Adelaide that you must go to, and I'll flick it through to you. Always have new and old blues musicians playing downstairs underground. You can sneak in.
Well, in the old days, Chain had come into town and we'd play one of the big pubs, and then we'd go off to the Co Club in, what's your, that famous street there? Hindley Street, yeah. And probably Chris Finnan would be playing there till 3 in the morning. So I'd get up and play with Chris, and then we'd go and over the road to one of the pubs on the corner in Hindley Street, and Rob Riley would be playing with his band, and they'd start at 5 o'clock in the morning. Adelaide in those days, I think that surprised. From Friday and Saturday, no one slept. And then on Sunday, you could fire a cannon down the street. There was just no one there.
No.
So everyone would just stay up and
everybody
go
was
to
in
sleep
recovery
sometime on Sunday and be ready for work on Monday.
So this little spot, which is holding up the blues tradition here in Adelaide at the moment, is called Memphis Slim's House of Blues.
Great piano player.
Memphis Slim's. Just also, congratulations on the longevity of Chain. I counted them. There's been about 30 amazing artists come through and be part of the Chain legacy. So congratulations on that amazing longevity. And also your induction 10, 12 years ago now into the WA Music Hall of Fame. Yeah. Clearly you're a blues fan and a blues man, but have you got any sneaky likes?
Especially when you're a songwriter, you listen to very little. I've got so much music going around my head most of the time that a lot of times music comes on, unless it really grabs me, I'll just turn it off. You know, non-blues things like Steely Dan, because of the perfection of the playing, really blow me out. Great playing, whether it's blues, anything. Tremendously good playing. I love that. And about once every 5 or 6 years, I just will spend a couple of weeks listening to classical music. I really like classical music. Then after about 2 weeks, I've had enough of it. Yeah. And don't listen to it for quite a while. With the old blues, when I hear it, it's just like listening to an old friend or bumping into an old friend. You know, I was lucky enough to do 2 tours with Muddy Waters and tours with Buddy Guy and Willie Dixon. You know, so I've seen so many of the greats. I've done all of them, B.B. King, Albert King, Freddy King, done shows with them all. That's my music. Though, at the moment, I write what I call Oz Indigo. I've got 2 or 3 CDs out of my Oz Indigo. It's blues-based, but just as someone like Eric Clapton, he's still a blues player, but he plays Layla and things like that, you know, wonderful songs. As a songwriter, I don't have any restrictions on what I write. I just write what I feel I need to write, whether it sounds like blues or not. People can play blues, but all they're doing is copying something. You've got to do what I used to tell young musicians is, for 2 years, copy everything known to man. Just every turnaround. Learn the blues from back to front, and then spend the rest of your life forgetting it and replacing it with your own way of doing things. With me now, I've completely got rid of all the old ways of, and those ways were fantastic. Love them to bits, but I've replaced them with my way of doing it. The blues I play, even though it may not sound like blues now, but it's real. It comes from my soul, and it's real. It's not a copy of something. You know, I can't watch Voice and all of that type of stuff. Someone copies
it's original and it's
a song, and that's supposed to be fantastic. Sorry, copying a pop song ain't that hard, believe me. If you've got a bit of a voice, you can do it.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
Let's hear the Beatles song, Please Please Me, title track of the album that inspired Matt Taylor all those years ago.
In the 60s, I think the greatest non-original song was House of the Rising Sun. And I can remember hearing it, and it just blew me away. Bob Dylan says he heard it on his car radio and just parked and just listened to it. And I think it's about time now where I do a version of it that's close to the original. And, of course, you've got to sing it from a female point of view. You know, you've got to sing it because that's what it's about. You know, it's about a young girl gets involved with a gambler. It wasn't a father. The gambler is her boyfriend. And he takes her down in New Orleans. He's gambling all the money, and he's got her on the game. That's what the House of the Rising Sun's about. She goes back to New Orleans to wear the ball and chain, not to jail. She's gone back to this fucking arsehole, to wear the ball and chain. So I sing as close to the original as possible. Yeah. And from that female point of view, which, it only makes sense from the female point of view. Get on the computer and put in House of the Rising Sun and get some of the earlier versions. Like, my mother was a tailor, sewed my new blue jeans. And I say my partner is a gambling man down in New Orleans. And I can't remember what the original one was. Yeah. My lover was a gambling man. Or, that's the key point, is that she gets involved with a gambler and he gets her on the game. Of course, she's still in love with him. And she says, Mother, the mother is in the present. Mother, tell my little sister not to do what I have done and spend your life in sin and misery in the House of the Rising Sun. It's a lament, and she's warning the listener and warning her mother to make sure that her little sister doesn't do what she does. It's a fabulous song. As I said, in the 1960s, I think that was just one of the most amazing songs. Yeah. And the Animals did such a fantastic version of it. But, of course, in those days, you couldn't sing it well. The folk singers could, from the female point of view. The other thing, too, is when I do my show, I say, here's 3 songs that were written by women or for women and are about women that men had monster hits with. And, of course, the first one was Little Red Rooster. And as I say, if you listen to Little Red Rooster, what man do you know who wants another rooster in the barnyard with them? None. It's from the female's point of view. If you find my little red rooster, drive them home. We've had no fun in the barnyard since the little red rooster's been gone. It was actually written by a woman. It wasn't written by Willie Dixon. It was written by Memphis Minnie, and Willie just pinched it off her. But Willie did things like that. And the other one, of course, is Elvis's biggest hit, Hound Dog. It's sung from the female point of view, because the real words, forget the Elvis words, they were just silly words made up. The real words is, you ain't nothing but a hound dog snooping round my door. You ain't nothing but a hound dog snooping round my door. You can wag your tail, but I ain't feeding you no more. Now, that pretty much tells you what Hound Dog is all about.
Yes, I've written all that down. Thanks, Matt. That's good stuff. And I know two other great songs that, really, congratulations. They have become the, soundtrack to our lives, and they're part of the Australian music landscape. Of course, Black and Blue, and I remember when I was young. And
they're great songs. I remember watching John Farnham once and thinking, had you not taken that easy path of, Sadie the cleaning lady, you would have been able to go on stage, do your great songs, and no one would be singing out, "Oh, Sadie!" Never take the easy way out. Never take the achy, breaky heart.
Yeah.
You'll have this monster hit, and then you'll just be a laughing stock from then on, no matter how good you are, no matter how good you were. Yeah. Farnham was good enough to become bigger than Sadie. I've never, ever done anything unless I believed in it, and could do it for the rest of my life, if need be.
Oh, good on you. And we thank you for all of those years of the fabulous music. And do get onto the Googleometer. We shall see you in October here in our beautiful town of Adelaide. Thank you so much, Matt Taylor, for chatting with us today
pleasure.
And sharing some of your history and some stories with us. I really, really appreciate it.
There was just and usually there shouldn't be more than really half a second's delay between, but it's going through towers and satellites and everything like that.
All sorts. The Twitterverse. That's right. It was a bit tricky, but we got there.
Fantastic. Yeah. Ring me about a week before Shane gets there. We can plan a day where we can get together and do what's necessary.
Sit and have that chat for telly. That'll be good.
Okay. Bye-bye, Cheryl. Bye.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
It makes sense, I guess, to finish up with The Animals and the House of the Rising Sun.
There is a house in New Orleans.
Cannot finish the podcast without Chain's Black and Blue, Chain's hit single from the album Toward the Blues. You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. Thank you so much for joining me on the Still Rocking It podcast. Hope to catch you again next time. Get out when you can, support Aussie music, and I'll see you down the front.